Facebook. Here we go. Thank you to everyone for joining us for another evening of Sohmalife Sanctuary. Sohmalife Sundays. My name is Reverend on the board, and my co-host is Rob Scarpa, and we welcome this evening Intuitive Paul Saladino. Paul is from the community that we are from here on Long Island and has been in this game probably about 45 years. And then the past 22, front and center with it. And I'm really excited to have him share his story with us. And welcome to everyone who is logging in tonight. And I usually start out by asking Rob to do one of his readings for us.
Let's give it a minute. Like I said, we still got people popping in. So before I get started, let's give it another minute. And Paul, so we were just speaking prior to everybody else jumping on. So you did a lot of studying or work at Pathways in Mount Sinai. Does that place, does it still exist?
It does, yes.
Okay.
They, I originated with them in Wisconsin. They moved their practice to Mount Sinai and recently moved it again within Mount Sinai, and they're still offering programs there. I went back about 15 years ago was the last time I was there, but I still socialize with them and did a lot of my initial training with them.
Do you do any teaching of any sort?
I do. I teach classes and I do workshops. I do, before the pandemic hit, I was doing a lot of them. I was teaching weekly classes and monthly workshops. And unfortunately, since the whole pandemic hit, we've had to stop all that.
I know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's put a damper on everything, all the fun. But everybody's learning. We're all learning how to get the Zoom on now, right? Everybody, here we go. We got a lot of people popping in. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Carla. Hey, Sue.
Hi.
How are you, Sharon?
Hi. Good, thank you.
Joanne, nice to see you. Our guest this evening is Paul Saladino. He's a gentleman with the red shirt. He's an intuitive. He's been doing this pretty much his whole life and as a full-time gig for the last 22 years from what he's just told us. And it's a pretty amazing story. He's, I guess you're born on Long Island, Paul?
I was born in Valley Stream, grew up in, I did.
And you're out in Mount Sinai now? That's your...
No, I'm Ronkonkoma right now.
Oh, you're Ronkonkoma, okay.
I moved out here about 20 years ago. I bought my home and that's where I started to begin my practice.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
All right, we've got quite a group on, I guess. Let me just find tonight's message. Actually, tonight's message is a message I received yesterday. And I don't even remember what it was, to be honest, because today's message was so long and so involved. And when these messages that I receive from Spirit, normally about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I write them out and then I do my best to get them typed out as soon as possible so that they're correct and legible and understandable for everyone, including myself. Yesterday was the 21st, right? Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My iPad, I had to get that loaded on the side over here so I could see what's going on. All right. 8:04. All right. It's a good time to get started. It's loading. All right. So each time I get a message, most times I reach out to my spirit guide or there's different guides. I started off with one guide, Osiris, I was introduced to about 2 years ago. And from there, other guides have come in. I've heard names. Okay, well, who are you? And so this March, I heard Octavius and Hannah. I kept hearing the names. So eventually I smartened up enough to say, okay, who is Octavius? Who is Hannah? And they stepped in as additional guides. And so every morning, I never know who's going to be there pretty much unless I specifically ask for a guide. I just say, okay, who's there? And sometimes, you know how you just know, intuitively, you just know, and then you get that, you feel the energy, and then it goes from there. So yesterday morning, Octavius came in. I felt his energy, and I said, Octavius, please provide a message today that I may share with humanity. I heard, greetings, Brother Robert. I am delighted at your request of communication this day. Much is to be conveyed regarding the conditions upon Gaia at this your time. Great upheavals are occurring on so many levels. The collective consciousness of humanity at this time is waking up to the truth that this is not all there is. Today upon your world will be occurrences of revelation, the revelation of multiple forms of existence within your galaxy. So much is to be said regarding the changes occurring. First, I would like to expand upon the revealing of extraterrestrial beings and their presence around you. It has always been the way of it. Yet humanity primarily operates in such a low vibrational state of existence that they are not able to visualize, yet you feel their energies around you. Unfortunately, many dismiss this as nothing more than noise. The unveiling of our existence is required at this time as we help to shepherd in the new paradigm of peace on earth. No longer can humanity continue to abuse another. No longer can there be levels of power and control that cause another to be subjected to the will of those who lack compassion. Gaia is a planet built upon love. So much of your existence depends upon nature. The nature of all things requires balance, and from that emerges life in all its many forms. Be it your plants, animals, oceans, and streams, the interconnection is based on that most basic tenet, love. As the vibratory oscillation continues to increase, with each passing rotation, greater is the force designed to reunite all. This is what is meant by oneness. It will take some time for all to realize the connection between the Earthling and the ET, but it will not deter their reunion. It is to happen individually and then collectively as souls gather and the energies are transferred and transmitted between humans. Activations and realizations are to occur in rapid succession. Each time, light is infused from one to another. Sequences of DNA are activated, and greater is the momentum. It is an unstoppable force. Think of it as a freight train loaded with love, overflowing with love, spilling out upon everyone and everything. It is what Gaia needs most, as well as humanity. This is the contagion most feared by those attempting to exert complete control. For they know in their hearts that great is the power, yet they fear it. They fear losing what the material world provides, always thinking they must victimize or else be the victim. That poor pattern is born of fear, the fear of the unknown. So now it is time to make all things known, all things clear. Many on your planet are scrambling to insulate and isolate themselves from another, all in an effort to preserve their way of being, yet so few recognize the bigger picture. That picture is unity. And with unity, all benefit, all are part of the collective. No one is excluded, no matter what may have occurred during their experience. The acceptance of this is all that is required. The actions of all are not the basis for determining who receives and who does not. Abundance is here for all. That is the point I and we are trying to make. There is no judgment day. There is no tribunal, no court, not even a review. Simply the realization that this is but another experience created and played out by you and all as divine beings, simply wanting to experience all the throes and emotions of pain, pleasure, love, and hate. This was and is an opportunity to see things from all perspectives. Now that this experiment is coming to an abrupt halt, as the transition into realization occurs, many may still feel detached and isolated. The only cure for this mindset is the expansion of thought within and the willingness to face what is before you, and all to embrace the reality that is your divinity. We, your galactic brethren, are so excited for the reveal, and we want as many incarnates as possible to be that as well. For this emotion is a most powerful of switches that activates sequences of love and understanding not yet realized before en masse. There have been those individuals who have come to the realization over courses of your earthly history, but rarely have multitudes experienced this in a simultaneous fashion. This is the Great Awakening. This is the final act of an old system established by you and all humanity. It is similar to the lights being turned on at the end of a movie within the theater. All then stand up and realize who is in attendance. No one is a stranger, and all have a common interest, and that is to enjoy the program. So it is now time to get up and exit the theater and see what awaits outside of the reality you have known for so long and become accustomed to. New is the program, new is the experience, yet old is the truth. There is no separation, only a forgetting. And now the time has come to remember and recognize the connection to all things. Again, let this be said. You are all divine beings of light, and great is your power. So learn to recognize the abilities contained within and utilize each and every one to create the world and experience you want and have desired for too long. Each soul has the innate power within to create whatever it is they want. The only restriction is if it is not of love, it is not possible in the new earth. So seek that balance within your heart and project that emotion out upon your world and witness the change for yourself. It has been a wonderful time this day as we have been able to communicate this truth. Enjoy your awakening, for we have just barely scratched the surface. We are the collective of one. That was a lot in that, huh?
Beautiful.
That's a lot of message there. That's a lot. The Great Awakening is going to teach us a lot of things.
It's gorgeous.
I didn't watch the news, so I don't know if any spaceships landed anywhere. But again, there's no such thing as time on the other side. So it could have happened yet the day before yesterday. I don't know. But we know a lot of people are seeing them. I guess as your vibratory oscillation increases, you're able to see what you haven't seen your whole life because of the noise. That's what the message said, right?
Amazing.
Paul,
So-
I know that that you refer to yourself as an intuitive, and I know that you have abilities to, you know, speak to both those who are alive, to be able to foresee things in people's lives, and that you also have a connection to those who have crossed over. I don't know about you, but for the longest time, I was like, I don't mind channeling Jesus and other ascendeds, but ETs don't exist. Like, I'm sorry, I was just staunchly in denial. Turns out I've been staunchly in denial about a lot of things lately. But what has your experience been with the realm of extraterrestrials?
I don't have much experience with it, but those who I do connect through spirit um, have fully admitted that there are. And I like to keep my work sort of in the mainstream, because if I venture out there, I lose a lot in my own experience. But I know that it's for real, and I've actually asked for signs, and I've gotten some. In fact, this doesn't have anything to do with spirituality, but I used to work for an airline many years ago, and one of the pilots actually came to me and said that they actually had captured one, and that it was in Miami, and there was all this evidence of it, but it was being kept private. And this is going back 25, 30 years ago.
Wow.
They kept it private because they didn't want people to be alarmed and stuff. So, I fully do believe that there is. I believe that we are only one consciousness amongst many. I believe there's many levels to consciousness, and to think that we're the only privileged living beings, it would be silly to believe that, in my opinion. Sorry.
No, I concur. I had an experience recently where I was laid out in bed on my back for about 4 days, like excruciating pain. and got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. When I came back, I looked up and my ceiling was gone, and there was a spaceship in my bedroom, or whatever. And I was shocked, and I heard this voice say, "We're fixing your back. Go back to sleep, or go back to bed." And I went into bed with this just huge grin on my face. And then one of the young ladies here introduced them, this collective that we're from, Andromeda C. So I don't know, I'm open to all of it.
I am too. I find it extremely interesting. But as far as my teachings and everything, I try to stay mainstream so that I can gather in the masses and and then as they grow with the basics, move into something that's maybe a little bit more extensive like that. But absolutely, 100%, I believe in it.
Beautiful. Will
I
you
mean,
tell
if
us
you asked me 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I only watched Star Wars for the first time last year. I'm not kidding. I rented it for the first time. Sci-fi, Star Trek. My brother would watch that. I would leave the room. That stuff made me cringe. None of it. I was very happy being, raised Catholic, and there's angels, and that's where my whole, focus was, and not even so much. It's hard to believe that, but on this journey in the last 5 years, what has come and unveiled itself to me is absolutely unbelievable. We have angelics, we have galactics, we have energetics. There's so many different aspects, and I guess they're just within all these different dimensions, and it's for me at this point, it's, well, I can't not read this message because they're talking about that. But 2 days ago, I got a message from Jesus, and then I got a message from from the little ones, that live in the forests of Ireland. Like it's so. I'm not even going to try and parse it. It is what it is. This is what I'm getting. This is what I have to put out there, and I appreciate where you're going, Paul. I understand completely what you're saying. It would make sense. This is how you make your living as well. So it's not.
Basically, I try to keep it so that everyone can understand. For the past 22 years, I've been doing readings and mediumship and all the channeling as well. I'm moving more into wanting to teach about spirituality, just the idea of that we're greater than what we know, and to use that to better your humanity, to relieve stress, to get a better physical existence, to bring in more abundance, more love, to expand yourself to your greatest and highest good. So I try to apply that to every person that I meet and keep it simple so that they're engaged. And once they're engaged, I send them to the people that they may need to go into the specific areas that they want to learn about. And we were born basic. We're unfolding and peeling back the onion layers to become the greater version and to raise up. And I think it's amazing that you're at that point. And I love to hear the stories, and I'm really engaged with it. As far as me doing my work, I try to stay in that narrow lane of
Absolutely.
basics, because I do find that I work with a lot of men, and I try to get men to understand spirituality, and that's a project in itself. And so connecting men to their emotions is hard. When we go a little bit left or right of center, I feel like I lose their attention. So once they're engaged, once they start to unfold, then I can throw this other stuff in the mix. But
Sure.
It's so exciting to hear about. And I think it's amazing that you do what you do. That was beautiful, what you just read. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It's all good. We're all in this together. This is the great awakening for all of us, and I'm just honored to be the one to be able to share this. Like I said, I just put it out there on anywhere I can. It doesn't matter. I mean, whoever reads it, and I have messages that tell me that don't worry about who reads it, if they accept it or not. It doesn't matter. In the beginning, I was very sensitive. If someone had made a comment, ask Lynn. I'd be like, Lynn, I'm not going to post anything for a week or a month. I can't believe, and I was just told by the guides, get over it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything, because you're hitting the switches. You're activating them. It's turning them on. Who knows? In a month, in 6 months, in 6 years, they might say, wow, I remember what the message did to me. I remember what it turned on in me. And it's the inquiry. I think a lot of the messages talk about encouraging inquiry from everyone. That's the switch that starts everything in motion.
Sure.
What is it I need to know? Who's with me? what's going to happen tomorrow, and listen, do I make this decision, left or right? Right? Ask the higher self. And it's everyone has to just learn to recognize those signs, right? We start with the dimes on the ground and 333 on the clock and 222 and all of these things, but it's that gentle conditioning that's getting us all to be sitting here on a Sunday night and talking together and sharing this experience that we each have. And it's beautiful. I'm so glad that we all decided to come back at this time, right? We got to pick it, right? That's what they tell us over and over again. We didn't come here. We're not here by coincidence in 2020. Mm-mm. We chose it.
Paul, would you tell us about your journey? I know you said that it was a line in the sand for you about 22 years when you started doing this full time, but you said you've been at this for about 45. Talk about how your gift came about and the training that you did, and just let us have a window into your world.
Sure. So I was raised very Catholic, old school, by Italian people that were like almost off the boat. And I was raised in a very strict household. And so we were required to go to church and learn about religion. And I remember sitting every Sunday with my mom and asking her questions like, Mom, how come that man seems angry? How come they're saying something about love? But if I do something wrong, this person's going to hurt me. And so I had a lot of conflict with it. So I would, at night, we had to say our prayers. Every night, my mom would come in the room to make sure that we were saying our prayers. And I would speak to God. And around the age of 6 or 7, I remember having a conversation, a two-way conversation. Like I was saying, please God, this, and getting an answer back. And I thought it was normal. I thought that's what happened to people. So I kept this going for a while. And as a young boy, I would say to my mom, well, God said this. And my mom would say, like, really, Paul? Like, I said, yeah, I would talk to God. And this went on for many years. And around the age of 13, I was probably around 13 years old. I started to get a voice in the right side of my ear. And it was a pleasant voice. And it started to tell me a lot about love and purpose and reason, and just spoke so beautifully. And I, again, thought this was somewhat normal. And after a while, it became overbearing. It became too much for me. So I would wear, I would play music, so I would douse it out. I couldn't listen any longer. Years later, I went to a woman who was a spiritualist, and she said to me, why don't you bring that voice back? Ask it questions. Ask who it is. Ask why it's here, which at that point I determined was a spirit guide of mine who was there to help me unfold my gifts. And I had gone through an extremely, extremely bad breakup of a relationship that devastated me. And I remember sitting on the bed talking to God as I did. And I said, God, I need the answers. If you want me to stay here, if you need me to do this work, then I need you to give me the answers. And immediately on the right side of my brain, I started hearing things about the person I had just broken up with. And I was like, oh my God, I never knew that. And I never knew this. And am I going crazy? So I called the person and said, I know this sounds crazy. I know we're not going out anymore, but I just got to ask you these questions. And they were like, well, who did you speak to in my family? How did you know that about me? Where did you get that information from? And I'm like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but from a voice on the right side of my brain. And for the longest time, we then got back together again, and we started to transcribe everything that I was saying. And then at one point, the woman who I had gone to see, she said, why don't you ask this voice to predict something? And so I was told 600, and I circled a 600 on a piece of paper, and they said red and white, and they said devastation, many people will die. And 2 weeks later was that, it was 800, I'm sorry, flight 800, the TWA flight. Mm-hmm. And my friends, I told a few friends of mine just what I wrote down. And they were like, oh my God, Paul, that is amazing. How did you know that? And I said, I didn't. I just got this from Spirit. And then at that point, long story short, I was in the city. Prior to this, I was with my mom, and James Van Praagh had been on television. And I said, wow, you know what? That guy's going to change my life in some way. And my mother, knowing that I had made all these predictions and stuff, she's like, well, I'm not going to doubt you, but I have no idea how that's going to happen. And then a couple of years later, I'm in the city and somebody handed me a pamphlet that said James Van Praagh would be appearing at this place. And I said, oh, I got to go. So I was with a friend of mine and he said, why are we going here? I said, because this guy's going to change my life. And he was like, oh boy, here we go. You and that woo-woo stuff. He used to call it the woo-woo stuff. So we went, and James had begun to walk down the aisle of 1,000 people at the Learning Annex. And he just turned and looked at me. He put his hand on the microphone. He said, do you mind staying after the seminar? And I said, of course not. And then I wound up going to dinner with him. And he said, you know, you need to be doing this work. And I said, okay. And long story short, from there, I started to take classes and training myself. And I took as many classes as I possibly could. I took hypnotherapy. I took intuitive counseling. I took energy healing. I took everything I could possibly do. And then one day, a friend of mine said to me, hey, do you know a psychic? And I said, oh boy, this is a sign, obviously. And I had never done a reading per se, but I had done little tidbits along the way. And I said, yeah, matter of fact, I do know one. And she said, well, who? And I said, well, why? And she said, my friend would like a reading. She lives in Connecticut. And I said, okay. I wound up saying, it's me. I do this work. She said, oh my God. She said, how much do you charge? And I didn't think of all this stuff. And she's like, I'm going to have her call you. And the longest story short was I said $25. And she said, I'm going to have this woman call you. This woman called me. I was so nervous that I said to her, I think I have to call you back. Aww. And when I hung up the phone, I was so nervous. When I hung up the phone, all this information started coming through me and I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And I called her back and I said, look, I said, I'm so sorry for this, but I just have to ask you these questions. Do you have a lot of boats? Does your husband like boating and all this stuff? And, you know, did your father pass from some kind of respiratory problem? And she said to me, she said, Paul, this is just strange. My husband's got 7 boats. My father died of lung cancer. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was more shocked than she was. I was like, this is real. Like, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Within 5 minutes of hanging the phone up with her, I got a call and a woman said to me, hi, I'd like to make an appointment with the psychic. And I was like, at first I was like, who are they calling? They have the wrong number. And that's where it started. And from that one reading, I've never advertised, and I've done 19,000.
Wow.
Wow.
19,000 readings.
That's incredible.
So that's the gist of it. There's a lot of side stories to that. But that's pretty much the main.
That's a good gist. That's pretty good, Paul. I give you.
I'm doing it out of the closet.
So one of the things that Paul had mentioned is that he's become friends with Gary Zukov, who to me is one of the most brilliant minds. I had read The Dancing Woolly Masters, and then when I came across Seed of the Soul, that was it. When anyone ever says, what's the first spiritual book I should read, I always say Seed of the Soul.
Me too.
I think it is it's my favorite spiritual book, although that seems to change day to day, because I say that every day. Now it's like the Yeshua letters, the way of Jesus, way of mastery with Jesus. But that book is like the foundation. Would you tell us a little bit about your relationship with him and what that was like to have him come and stay with you? And
well, I'll tell you, this all came about from a 2-year period that was devastating to me. I had lost 3 of my aunts, 2 of my cousins, 2 best friends, and then my mom and my sister within a 7-month period.
Wow.
That all happened within a very short amount of time. And it broke me down. And I remember sitting on a floor, almost in a fetal position, saying to God, like, what are you doing to me? Like, I don't understand this. And with that, I heard that voice say, you'll teach people from your pain. Get up and go and book a room. I said, book a room for what? And they were like, book a room, you're going to do a seminar. So and if you know me, I'm a very shy person. If I would have to go in front of the room in school, I would take a 0. I would never go in front of people. And so I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So I booked a room. Long story short, again, I booked this room for 75 people, 225 showed up. I started doing a yearly seminar. And then as it started to unfold 3 or 4 years in, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could get a featured speaker. And that started to get the ball rolling. And I thought, who would make such a big impression? Who would be a spiritual teacher that would come here and speak? So I said, Gary Zukav is my favorite. So I wound up having a friend of mine find out his contact information, and I called him. I didn't get him right away, and then he called me back, and to my surprise, I was speaking to him without even knowing it was him. And he said, Paul, this is Gary Zukav. And I almost pooped my pants. It was crazy. But he then said, how can I help you? And I said, I'm doing this spiritual awareness seminar to benefit children with cancer. Could you possibly come? And I mean, this man has been on Oprah 50 times, and he travels the world. And he said, well, here's my terms. And I could clearly not meet those terms at all. And I said, look, this is what I can offer. If you find it possible, I would love for you to come. And he called me back the next day and he said, there's something about your energy that I like. He said, I'm going to come. And so he didn't stay with me, but he stayed in a hotel nearby. And we spent 4 days together. We went into the city and we saw a Broadway show, and listening to his story, listening to the type of man he is, and what's beautiful about him is the simplicity and the clarity of who he is. Like there's no agenda. He's just such a pure, beautiful soul who I believe is beyond gifted. So I spent those 4 days with him and his wife, and we did so much together. And he wrote me a nice, beautiful letter about how he was treated so properly here, and how the Long Island was such a beautiful place, and how the energy was so great. And since then, I've done another seminar with Eben Alexander, who wrote Proof of Heaven, and also Paul Young I've done twice, who wrote The Shack. I don't know if you've ever read The Shack, but it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, it's a great story.
So those four have been my featured speakers for the last 4 years. And I'm working on a new one for the summer. I'm hoping that we'll have this lifted and I can do it there. But Gary Zukav he's ingenious to me. He's just such a wise soul. I took one of my brothers, to dinner the night we went out. And my brother was not into real spirituality, doesn't understand it completely. And he was in awe of Gary. He was just sitting there looking at him like, where is this coming from out of this man? He just exudes it.
Trained at Harvard, and yet to me it was the first time that I watched someone eloquently and simply melded spirituality and science together in a way.
Absolutely.
When you can explain what intention is and what it does, and when you watch Oprah talk about it and how she created what she did, that every day the entire company would be intentional on making something happen, on being the most successful media company, and she was
Amazing.
It's all about setting the intention, right? No matter what it is, set the intention every day. We're in this epic era of creation, and this is what every message says, and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Set your intention. Only focus on what you want. Forget about what you don't want, and it just keeps opening and opening and opening. This giant flower is opening for all of us.
It's so true.
Look at how it opened for you, Paul. You heard it. You followed your intuition. You did what you were told to do. You put your trust in your message. You booked your room, and it was 3 times what you had anticipated. I mean, what more could you ask?
Yeah.
And that's what's here for all of us. No one is excluded in this. No one.
I recently had a workshop I was going to lead, and I had set it all up, set up the dates, and no one had signed up for it. And I was going to cancel it, and Spirit said, wait. And 3 days before the start of the workshop, a woman reached out to me, and she said, I want to join your workshop. And Spirit said, you're not charging the price that we told you. And I said, well, you guys kept saying $22.22. So I made the workshop $22.22, and they were like, nope, $17.95. How much is 1 + 7 + 9 + 5? And I said 22. They'll speak to us, and suddenly there were like 12 people in the workshop. It was beautiful in a very short amount of time. But they will guide us, and all we have to do is be willing to listen and ask and it is given. That's, everything that Esther talks about as she channels Abraham. Ask and it's given.
Absolutely.
Or
And
else sometimes the universe will push your hand like dropping a tree on your cars if you're not listening to the message.
Yes.
Was it just last week?
Last week, yes, last Sunday night.
I think I heard a tree fall, and he goes off camera and he comes back and says to me later, "You want to tell the story, Rob?"
Yeah, we were busy with this, so a little after 9, I said, let me go outside and see what that noise was. And I went out, and a giant tree fell perfectly. It missed everything but my 2 trucks, and it took them both out.
oh my
It didn't take out. It looked like they were completely camouflaged. Like I purposefully covered them in branches. You couldn't see them from the pictures. And my wife said, "I've been telling you for the longest time to get rid of those trucks. Are you going to pay attention now?" I'm like, "I get it. I got it. You're right. I heard, you did. Everybody's been willing me to get rid of my 2 trucks that I love so much. They're both gone."
And I had just said, "Rob, can you bring one of your trucks over? I have some stuff I need to get rid of in my yard." He's like, "Not a problem." My mother's like, "Now what?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We'll work it out."
They're
I always
squished.
tell people that. I tell them
Both of them squished.
you'll get a little pat or you'll get a kick in the butt. You really have to.
Well, that's it.
Wendy,
And-
our friend Wendy, calls it the cosmic boot.
Well, but then I said, well, it's 2020, so it's time for the shift, the change, and things, and new beginnings, right? There's new. So my wife was happier than you could imagine that I'm getting a new vehicle.
Go, Lori, go, Lori.
I love my trucks.
Paul, how would you feel about possibly giving a message? Is there anybody that you feel like you have a message for that might be here with us?
On our screen, yeah.
As far as coming from those in spirit, you're speaking?
Yeah, whatever.
I was feeling an energy before that was saying something about healing when you were speaking about healing, and that the message for 2020 was healing the wounds, healing the pain. And I was hearing it strong on my right side. In fact, my right ear was ringing about healing the old wounds, cleaning out the old stuff, bringing in the new, allowing ourselves to rise in vibration and to accept the privilege of being here as a gifted soul. We're all gifted. And I think it's beautiful that we're all part of this unique, intricate puzzle that's being put together, that's making up a masterpiece. Unfortunately, again, there's some who are slow learners, some who refuse to look at the light. But those of us who are doing this work will gather the troops and we'll start a new wave of healing, a new collective consciousness that's going to bring. I'm so happy about it because a lot of people think I'm strange with all that's going on in the world with the politics and the pandemic and all this stuff that's going on. They say to me, like, why are you so happy? And I say, because sometimes the dark has to happen so that the light can come through. And I'm excited about what's going to shine through here. It's a new beginning.
Yeah.
So I was hearing that before about healing and to bring the message of healing, to love, to share light, to connect, to unify. That's my next project, by the way, is I'm going to create a seminar, a workshop, and I'm going to call it Unity. I might call it Long Island Spirit, where I'm going to collect the masses and bring them together to celebrate. I believe that that's what we need now. And we have to go to this next stage of understanding.
Yes.
It's imperative for our healing and our growth. And so I can feel the energy in this group, the people that are watching and stuff. And there's really an interesting group of people. Yeah. I can feel it. It's amazing, actually. There's different understandings, different personalities, all connected through that consciousness of love. It's just amazing.
So a lot of the people here I met last year when I started I met just this year, which seems crazy to me because it feels like it's been lifetimes. I picked up Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard, which directed me back to the Course of Miracles that I had first come across in 1985 and tried to get through. And this voice said to me, wouldn't it be great if there was someone that was channeling Jesus and reading the lessons from the Course of Miracles each day? And I was like, oh, such a great idea. I wonder what I would Google. And the voice said to me, try channeling Jesus. And literally there's a community called Channeling Jesus. And a lot of us here have met, and we get together in the morning. There's a group of almost 20 of us that get together and meditate every morning. And I channel Yeshua. And
Wow.
a lot of the energy, I swear the energy is like in this Zoom room. But a lot of the people that you're feeling here are from that community. And the
Beautiful.
rest, I think, are Rob's family, because he's got a very big family. So,
Wow.
um, uh, okay, hold on. Miriam was saying, is there one repeated message or theme you come across when you receive information for yourself or others?
For myself, that's funny. I normally don't get many for myself, so I have to entrust in some people. For those of us who do spiritual work, a lot of the time we can do it for others, not for ourselves so much. But when I do get a general message, and what comes through all the time are three things. Three major emotions that have been stated over and over in every session, every appointment that I've ever done, and those are love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Mm.
Those are the three messages, the three main emotions that I believe will heal, encourage, inspire, and motivate anyone. And that's normally one of those will come through. So no matter what the situation may be for the client that I'm seeing, one of them will apply to them.
Yes. Yeah.
To,
That's, I think that's the story. That's beautiful. Miriam, thank you for the question. And Willem had a question, was Gary Zukov a Navy pilot at one point?
yes, he was a Green Beret.
Ooh.
He had such an interesting story, and you would think a man as gifted as he would never fully open up to some of the dark stuff that he admitted to, which was pretty
on Oprah, some really dark stuff.
Yeah, but that was the beauty of it. It took that darkness to lead him to the light. And
Yeah.
so I use that often with any client that may have gone through something that has been, hurtful or self-sabotaging, and motivate them with the idea that if you didn't know that darkness, then you would not recognize how beautiful the light's going to be.
About 10 days ago, I came across the biggest piece of darkness in my life, and it has been what I call exquisite pain, because as painful as it's been, as revealing as it was, it has brought, when I get through the I don't want to be here anymore part of it, and then I rise up, all of a sudden I'm like, that wasn't so bad. Whereas, just a few minutes before I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then I'm like, I feel a bit bipolar. So those of you who know, please forgive me, because I promise you I'm going to get through this.
Let's be honest. An hour ago, she said, Rob, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to take a back seat. You got to run this one tonight. And I said, okay, whatever we got to do. And
now
then we had a little brief conversation, and I saw by the time we hit the Zoom, she was back to her normal self. So
well,
I have the same thing though. I do. I sometimes wake up and say, God, can I just be like a librarian or a grocery clerk or something? I don't want to do this anymore. And partially because I'm an empath, and I carry so much of the pain and the sadness that I go through with the people. And let's be real here. Most people don't come to see me because they have a blissful life.
Right.
They come to see me because they have trauma and situations in their lives. And I oftentimes in this chair at night will spend an hour before I go to sleep talking to God, crying about all the pain that I've endured. So, I always tell people the quote that I say often is, the more difficult the journey, the more blessed the soul. So if you look throughout history and you look at most of the people who were spiritual and gifted in their spirituality, they didn't lead an easier life. They had more to handle because they earned the right to handle that much.
Yeah, she was said, whoever I put in front of you, you will be able to handle, and you will be able to help because of your own pain. And it's funny that it's like that, but I love that you get that.
I feel that.
So you take in all of this. You're assisting all of these people as an empath, as an intuitive. You're helping them to work through their issues, and then you say you sit down, and at the end of the day, the end of the evening, and you've got to work through all this. for everyone listening and all these potential mediums we have out here and empaths, and what is there a prayer, a procedure, or is it just the intent to release it that drops it so that you don't wake up with it the next day? How do you purge yourself of all of that? And that's for everyone.
Protection,
Well,
cleansing, anything. You can
I start off the day with grounding. Before I get out of bed, I always say, God, please allow me to be the greatest version of myself today and let me live in love. That's how I start my day. And then I use the shower in the morning as a white light to ground myself. And then I start my day. But at the end of the day, to purge all of this, I really feel like I need to feel the feelings and go over them again because, and some people might think that that's sad that I cry. I cry 10 times a day. I mean, that's what I do. It's just who I am. I can open a door for somebody. If they say thank you, I start crying. I just feel, I cry so much. And
Chinese food delivery guys, like, I don't know what's up with that guy, but
Yeah.
I
have a lot of dark glasses now. I know.
Well, I'll tell you, yes, to answer your question, I release it by reliving it. I go over it in my head, like that the person today who may have lost a child or someone who is diagnosed with cancer. I sit in this chair most evenings and I pray. I pray to God. This is my little space here. And I say, God, please send that person light and love. And I visualize them. And when I do that, it invokes all those feelings in me. So I do release them. I do cord cutting. So I cut cord every day. I use cord cutting. I use Archangel Michael to help me cut the cords of my attachments from that day.
yes.
I send love and light. I heal them with love and light. And then I go to bed and hopefully sleep a peaceful night's sleep, except for this new kitten that will not let me sleep.
Oh my God, will you show everyone the kitten? The kitten is so cute.
Yeah, I'm sending it to you.
Kitten? I'm like, I got a cat the size of a raccoon. I don't think that would work out.
Yeah, he's
Does
adorable.
anyone else have any questions for Paul, please?
Please raise your hand. You want to interact?
One of the things I wanted to mention is that during this whole time of madness and craziness and uncertainty, I decided to create this YouTube channel for self-help and spiritual awareness. So I thought many people will have more free time, they have their ability to sit at times and listen, and how better way to spend your time learning. So I created this YouTube channel, and I know you and I spoke about it, Lynn, but I was so surprised at how many people subscribed to it so quickly. I was so shocked and so pleased and happy to see the amount of subscribers. But it's a true testament to how people really want to learn. They want to hear positive statements. They want to learn about, things that are going to lift their spirit, help them along the way. And so I created the YouTube channel, which has many different, I have about 20 videos on there right now, about the pandemic, about self-help, about spiritual awareness. And I believe instead of doing the classes, people are using those videos to help themselves.
There is a woman named Maureen Murphy DeSanto who is on Facebook, and I've got it up on my phone, and she's saying that she lost her husband and that he passed in the home. His name is Larry, and she was wondering if you had a message for her from him. She just wants to know how he's doing on the other side.
So there's a 4 connection to that. And I don't know what the 4 means. So I don't know if the month of April meant something or if he passed 4. The number 4 means anything. But I immediately got a 4 when you said that. Okay. And I don't know if the last 6 months of his life he suffered or if he had an unusual feeling. But I was feeling like the last 6 months he was off in energy in some way. But to answer the question, I see him as a younger man.
Oh, so she said, my husband got stage 4 cancer. So there's your 4. And then COVID. And then he ended up passing in the home.
Okay. So ask her if I'm sure she can hear me. If he liked the water, if he was an ocean person or found peace near water or music, because I keep feeling he's near water and I hear music on the left side of my brain. So I would say that this man absolutely is Did he not pass that long ago?
You know what? She's not.
Well,
responding
it would
now.
have to have been recent because of COVID. Yeah, he's fine. I can see him in my mind's eye on my right side, and he's near water.
Yes to water.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's fine. He's actually back to a younger man. He's in his early 30s. And ask her if they ever had, or he ever had, a black and white dog.
He passed in March. Did you guys ever have a black and white dog, Maureen?
If he had one when he was young,
They went to the Virgin's Beach. He loved music.
he's playing music. He's by the ocean, and he's got a dog that looks like a darker dog, but has like a white spot on it, a white. And he's just a white dog. He's peaceful. He's very happy. Somebody's birthday is approaching that he feels very upset that he's missing, or that his death is causing an issue with.
Oh.
So he's very much around her. And I saw two hearts put together. So this man really loved her.
She said, "Oh my God, thank you." And she said, "That's her husky."
That's it. He's there. Ask her. I don't know if she at night before she goes to sleep sits on the bed or lays in the bed and talks to him, but he's in there with her. He said, "I'm there with you." He can like, he almost wants to put his arms around her in bed.
Mm.
This has been tough for her.
Yeah.
So sad. But he's there with her, and there's somebody's birthday or a celebration that he feels like his death. It may have been around his passing, because he feels like his passing kind of put a damper on something celebrative, and he's sorry for that.
Yeah. She said she loved him, and yes, she does feel him. And yes, she does sit on the bed, and she does. She's in their bedroom when they talk.
That's him. He's there. He's strong.
Yeah, it's been tough.
That's a shame.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maureen, thank you so much for bringing this to Paul. Paul, thank you so much for that gift.
My pleasure. I wish it was under better circumstances.
Yeah. It's been amazing to see how many are crossing over. But it seems to be a choice. She says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." You're so welcome.
There's a mass exit, and almost, I feel like there's what I was told in meditation was that there was a large amount of younger souls that would not want to stay here during this transition, and that the elder souls, the wiser souls, would stay to regroup and rebuild. Yeah. And so there are a lot passing. Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah, this is part of this big shift. And I've been getting those similar messages. There are many who are going to decide not to ride this one out. And again, that's just the beauty of the free will planet, this game that we're playing. If we just picture everything as the ultimate game, and if you no longer want to play, you can just turn it off. Okay, I'm done. And it doesn't mean anything. The soul goes on. We're timeless. It doesn't mean anything. Of course, it's going to affect everyone we leave behind. But I mean, I'm not trying to be cold about it anyway. But it's the decision point that everyone is coming to.
Isn't it interesting that when you look at it from a human standpoint, you're riddled with guilt and anger and frustration and sadness. But when you look at it from a soul standpoint, it all just seems to make sense. It all just flows easily. Like when you said that they'll just leave and go on, somebody in their human is going to say, well, that's harsh. That's a little bit, But as a spiritual person, you think, my God, how beautiful. They went to the next place.
You're just not on this channel anymore. That's all. It's a 1,000-channel cable box, and you're just not on that one anymore. You're on a different button.
9 billion channel cable box. Paul, I want to introduce you to.
I think Mary B had a question. Mary, did you have a question?
Mary.
Yeah, my dad passed away yesterday, and I was just wondering if you had anything from him.
Was he ever, when he was younger, a smoker?
Yeah, he was.
And then quit for a long time?
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, he smoked for a while. He started smoking in World War II.
He was he's very strong for someone who just passed. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you that he's showing up here on my right-hand side, but he was pointing at his respiratory, saying that he had some breathing troubles.
Yeah.
So he had some heavy breathing and he was uncomfortable with breathing the last couple of weeks or whatever. He is also back to a younger man. So a lot of people don't realize this, but when you go to heaven, you can choose a life that, or a time of your life that you like to go back to. Even when babies are born, they can grow to be older. So he's going like this to me. He's pointing at his mouth. He wanted to tell you that he's sorry. And this is a big one. He doesn't feel like he did all the emotional mushy work that he wishes he would have done. So he's saying he didn't speak the words enough. So he's asking me to tell you how much he loves you and how proud he is of you.
Aww.
He was putting a 3 over your mother, and then he was putting a 1 over here on the side. This one is a problem here. But how many kids did your mom birth?
4. My brother died a couple of years ago.
So there's the 3 and the 1. He's saying there's 3 left and 1's with me.
Yes.
Over here.
Good.
He's putting them over there, telling me that your brother's with him.
Yay.
And they're very happy. They're very different men from each other, but they're very connected.
Yeah.
And so your father's saying he rings your ears a lot. He's going to ring your ears a lot.
Okay.
You're going to hear a lot of ringing. And he's just letting you know that he's happy.
I'm hearing it right now.
He's happy. He's very happy.
Oh, I'm so happy too. That's so wonderful. Thank you, Paul.
You're absolutely welcome. You know, the kind of generation that your father came from is one that I miss so much. It's the old school generation. And your father, I don't know if you know this, but in his childhood didn't have the easiest childhood.
Yes.
They had to struggle, but he made himself into what's called a self-made man.
Yeah, he did.
He really worked hard to provide and become and do. And the perseverance and the integrity that he had, you don't see often.
Yeah.
So he's actually putting his hand out to shake my hand.
Oh.
That's the kind of integrity that you see in that kind of generation. And he's putting his arms around you. He said he wants to hug you.
Oh,
Mary did this beautiful vigil that allowed him to release and to finally let go. He was very, very scared about crossing over. And it was just profound to watch the gift that you gave him with that, beloved. That was just incredible.
Was he the last couple of weeks having respiratory problems or breathing issues?
Yes, he's been. Jesus had mentioned to me he had began his transition a couple of months ago, but it's really picked up the last couple of weeks. And I knew he was actively trying to exit, but he was having trouble.
Yeah, I think the anxiety, the stress, or the conflict between the human and the spirit was causing a little bit of stuff there, but he's completely at peace now.
Oh, so wonderful to hear that. Thank you. And thank you for mentioning my other brother, Hank. So
he's there with them.
Good.
They're lit up in light.
Oh.
Does he have any plans on coming back? Seriously. No, I'm serious.
I'm sure. What I was told, and I'm not so sure that everyone believes this, but I was told that we do it in soul groups and that we do it between 100 and 200 years so that the whole soul group can come back and do it together. There are souls that come back without their soul group, but they seem to feel lonely or not part of anything. So I'm sure absolutely that they'll come back unless you're an extremely old soul and retiring. I don't know if that's a possibility. I mean, I hope I don't come back. I'm ready to stay and retire up there. I tell God all the time, unless I'm blonde and Jewish and big breasted.
I said I'm coming back as a very wealthy gay man next lifetime.
Paul, in all of your readings, Paul, has any spirit said I'm coming back in all of the 19,000 readings that you've done?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. They've already planned and already looked at. You know what's interesting? I was told a long time ago from a spirit once, that my spirit guide actually, that there's a whole of lives that in heaven or in spirit, you can go and choose this life. You create one almost. And the consciousness then has to intertwine with the souls that you're in your group.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting that all of us in this group today have been in each other's lives somewhere else in another lifetime.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's like the Hall of the Akashic Records. I call it the place of planning, where they go and they choose contracts. Listen, we're almost at time. I want to make sure that everybody knows how to reach you. So Paul, give me your contact information so I could type it into Facebook so people can have it there.
Sure. Contact number to make an appointment would be 631
Mhm.
588 4340.
Okay.
My website is called Heavens with an S, heavenshealingguidance.com.
www.heavens.
Healing guidance, 2Gs.com.
Wait, Heavens Healing
Guidance.
Guides, GUIDES?
No, guidance.
Oh, guidance. Heavens Healing Guidance.com. This is why I have millennials in my life. Heavens Healing Guidance. All right, hold on one second. I need my glasses. About to be 60 and I don't go anywhere without them.
That's beautiful.
Hello.
Okay, heavenshealingguidance.com.
Yes, that's the website. And then if they choose or would like to look at the YouTube videos, it's just Paul Saladino Psychic Medium.
Beautiful.
A wonderful hour. Really, I'm so glad everyone came to hang out with us tonight. It's great. And I know everybody's trying to make their Thanksgiving plans or not, you know. You're going to sit in your plastic bubble and eat your private turkey. I know some people are recommending that, you know.
Yes. Yes. Well, I just want to say thank you to both of you for inviting me. It's a privilege, it's an honor, and it's
an honor, truly. It was a delight to have you here.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, I hope you come back, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome anytime.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone who attended on Facebook. Thank you to all of you who show up here weekly with us on Zoom. I love you all. Rob, brother, I love you.
Thank you.
Rob and I live about 5 minutes from each other here in a little town called Huntington on the North Shore of Long Island in New York. And he's just become absolute soul family to me. You know, he has been, but it's, you know, it's just amazing to have a friend like you who is as true as they come. So
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And tonight's message that I read, we'll post it right away because I already have it typed out and proofed. So I don't have to do any corrections. So we'll get it out there. And
thank you for your question. Tom says, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you to everyone who participated and got involved, and love you all. Blessings, everybody.
Have a wonderful
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.